Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you haven't already, please navigate to the attendance sheet in the top of the agenda if you are a senator and provide your information there so that we know you're here. We will get things rolling shortly.
Hi, where do I find the attendance link again?
The attendance link is at the top of the Senate agenda that was emailed to all of the senators. It should be under item A.
Okay, thank you.
To those of you who have just showed up, thank you all for joining us this evening. Please fill out the attendance form located at the top of the Senate agenda, and Rohan will let us know when we have quorum and can get started. Thank you.
Rio, we do have quorum now.
Great. Thank you, Rohan. Since we have quorum, we will now bring this meeting to order. Bang, bang, bang. Rohan, moving on to the next order of business, we will now review the agenda from the previous meeting. And it's not linking. Rohan, would you be able to share your screen on the previous minutes if you have them?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
It says I cannot start screen share right now. I think you need to give me access.
Let's give you the wheel.
I hope everybody can see the screen right now. Yes, no, thumbs up.
We can see it.
Yes.
Okay.
So when I click the link, it doesn't do anything. It just takes me back to the link.
But are you able to see the screen right now on Zoom?
We can see it.
Okay. So yeah, we had begun the last meeting by sharing the minutes from the previous emergency meeting held on Monday, 17th August. Then our Speaker and Executive Vice President Rio had announced that GPSG was looking for a parliamentarian for our Senate meetings. Since the last meeting was the first meeting in this academic year where we were passing a motion, so Rio had shared a few points on how the meeting would be progressing and what to expect. Our Vice President of Finance, Deborah, had then shared a resource where the answers from OGAPs to the questions which were raised during the OGAPs and GPSG combined hosted open forum were posted along with the video of the open forum. Then on, we moved forward and brought the old business, that is the GPSG resolution number 54.01, support for grad aggies for worker safety open letter back into business. The motion was introduced by Jet Chalupa, Senator from the Department of Communication. Some discussions followed. Then a motion was passed to call for vote on resolution, and resolution was passed based on the results of the vote. Finally, a motion was passed to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Rohan. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as read?
I approve them, or I motion to approve them.
I second.
Appreciate it. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
I
Aye.
Yes.
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 Thank you. All opposed? Sounds like the ayes have it. Let me bang on my little my hammer here. Boom, boom. It's passed. Thank you. So the minutes are approved. We will now move on to the next order of business. Thank you, Rohan. Okay. So again, thank you all for joining us this evening. We are going to have two presentations that will occupy about the first hour or so of this meeting, and then we'll move on to our regular business items. So I would like to introduce Dr. Julie Harlan, who was the former Speaker of the Faculty Senate and is also the Associate Professor at the Department of Agriculture Leadership, Education, and Communications. She will be providing us an overview of parliamentary procedure that will be quite helpful for us moving on throughout the year. So please give it up to Dr. Julie Harlan.
Thank you, Rio. Can you make it so I can share my screen? I think because you're sharing it, let me try now.
Absolutely.
There we go. So give me a thumbs up or if you can see that. I don't see any faces, so there we go. Thank you. I've learned to ask that question. There have been times where I get going and realize people can't see it. So thank you for that introduction. I did this, I think it was last year. It may have been the year before. I lose track of time. But I have also served as parliamentarian of the Faculty Senate for several years. And when I'm not parliamentarian, I'm the backup parliamentarian when the parliamentarian is absent. My background is as a high school agricultural science teacher. So when I was actually in high school, I was in a competition called chapter conducting. And so it's where we got the opportunity to not just learn about the rules related to governing meetings, but we got to practice them in the form of a competition. So I've been involved in this for a very long time. And I'm excited to share with you some of what I know related to this. So I have a couple of objectives for us. First is to discuss the importance of parliamentary procedure. We're going to define the purposes and characteristics of motions, demonstrate how to conduct motions, and lastly, discover some resources to guide our work because it's one of those things that you need it when you need it. So I just want you to know where to go when you do need it. So let's start with why parliamentary procedure is important. First of all, it's a way to conduct an orderly meeting based on democratic principles. It can make our meetings more effective and efficient, and it also works to eliminate surprises for both members and officers who are tasked with managing those meetings. So if we look at Robert's Rules of Order, which is, I have it over here on my shelf. It's a very large manual that has all the rules written down. There's 5 basic principles to Robert's Rules. First of all, one thing at a time. So we only handle one item of business at a moment. It also ensures that every member is treated equally. We want to consider minority rights, but the majority shall govern, and that absentees get some protection. So what I suggest is that you get familiar with the systems that you have in place and learn how to work them. So I can share examples of how things might work in the Faculty Senate because that's the one that I'm most familiar with. First of all, items might go to a standing committee member for help. So if there's a particular issue and it falls under a committee you already have, you can go to a member of that committee or the chair of that committee. For us, we have this thing called Committee of the Whole that happens at the end of our meetings, where any member can bring an issue before the group for action. They can request that action be taken. They can also petition that the executive committee take action. They can ask the speaker to present a proposal as an emergency item at a meeting if it didn't meet our agenda deadline. Under new business, you can rise and request that the item be put on the agenda for the next meeting. That takes a majority vote. And always remember that someone has to write things down. So it's called power of the pen. Those who do the drafting have the advantage. And oftentimes we're asked, what was the exact language of that motion? Because the language is very important. So how does this relate to your organization? Well, it ensures that the majority rules while those minority voices and views are heard, respected, and valued. It also keeps you organized and productive. It teaches good citizenship that is used in lots of different organizations. You can also consider how reporting committees and members get items on the agenda. That should be outlined in your bylaws, and it's going to be used in so many different settings. For me, I also serve on our local Bryan ISD Board of Trustees, so we use parliamentary procedure at every meeting that we have. It ensures that we're doing things in ways that are appropriate and transparent, and you know, we follow rules related to that. So let's talk about presenting an item of business. And in the days of COVID, this looks different because we are on Zoom a lot, some of us, but the principles are still the same. So you don't rise, but you raise your hand or gain the attention using that, you can use the participants pane or use chat features, whatever your organization chooses to do. But you address the president or the chair, and you get recognition where they call on you. Then you make the motion. There's only one appropriate way to make a motion, and it is, I move that. Not I motion that or any other term. I move that. And if there's one thing I see most often done incorrectly at meetings, it's that word. So it's just very simple. I move that. You can also provide a brief explanation of why you're making that motion. And that's, for example, since we need the money, I move that we have a fundraiser, is one example. Next comes seconding the motion, and we just observed this. So by saying second or I second the motion, you do not have to gain recognition to do that. And it's also important to think about how we do this in these types of meetings and have a standard procedure for how we obtain seconds and how we do votes. Sometimes we use the polling feature to do votes. Sometimes we use the raise hand feature to do the seconds, but creating a system can help your meetings go smoothly. Then the president or the chair has a statement and a question. It has been moved and seconded that, and it is typically proper that the president will then state whether the motion is debatable, amendable, and the vote required. Sometimes we have a 2/3 vote required. Sometimes we have a majority vote required. If it's debatable, we debate and then we vote. Lastly, we have the announcement of the vote, the number of yeses and nos. We can include abstentions when taking a ballot or rising vote. That's a point of contention I get asked about a lot at our faculty senate meetings, and they want to know why we're not doing abstentions. Abstentions are only appropriate when doing a ballot or rising vote. So I want to go over just some basic motions with you, so you have something in your vocabulary related to those. First is the main motion. That's the purpose is to present an item of business for consideration and action by the group. A second is always required. It is debatable and amendable, and it requires a majority vote. Another one we use quite often is a lay on the table. Sometimes you'll hear folks say, I want to table that motion. The purpose is to temporarily delay action on an item of business. There's lots of reasons we might choose to do that. Maybe we need additional information. Maybe we're waiting on something else to happen. But when we do that, all amendments and motions belonging to that are also tabled. It requires a second. It is not debatable or amendable, and it does require a majority vote. You may have heard in meetings where people yell the word question. Have any of you heard that before? And their goal when they say that is to terminate discussion. Unfortunately, moving the previous question typically is not done correctly. Just because someone yells question doesn't mean we end discussion. We actually have to vote on moving the previous question. If that passes, then we end discussion. If it fails, we continue discussion. So again, rarely is that done correctly. So it's called for without any qualifications. It only affects what we're currently discussing. It requires a second. It's not debatable, it's not amendable. And do you see that? It requires a 2/3 vote. So 66% of the members have to agree that we're going to be done with discussion. Another one that's pretty common is refer to a committee. This is when we place a question temporarily in a committee. So we may do this to secure more detailed information, to secure a recommendation from a smaller group, to ensure privacy when dealing with something that might be delicate, to allow a more informal discussion, or to sometimes we give that committee power to act where they make decisions on our behalf. So we can, when we do that, when we can refer it to a standing committee that already exists, or to a special committee that might be like an ad hoc committee that we're going to create just for what we're talking about. A second is required. It is debatable and amendable, and it requires a majority vote. Amendments. The purpose of an amend motion is to modify the motion that's under consideration. There's two types. There's a first rank and a second rank. So first rank, it's an amendment, just applying to the motion that's been presented. A second rank is where we amend that amendment. So we don't go further than that. Second rank is as far as we go. But it must pertain to the motion that we're talking about. We can strike out words, we can insert words, or we can do both of those. A second is always required. It's debatable when the motion it applies to is debatable. It may be amended by amendment of the second rank. Second rank amendments cannot be amended, and it also requires a majority vote. I also want to bring your attention to a point of order. The purpose of a point of order is to enforce the rules by calling attention to a violation of the rules or a mistake in procedure. So the president or the chair is duty bound to enforce the correct rules of procedure and should call members out of order when they're in error. Also, members can call other members out of order when they are in error. So no seconds required. There's no vote on this one. You don't need recognition, and it may interrupt a speaker. And the last one I want to talk to you about today is adjourn. The purpose is to close the meeting. Obviously, a second's required. It's not debatable or amendable. It does require a majority vote. So skip that last piece. I do have a couple of really quick case studies. And so we're just gonna, I want you to give me some feedback, if you will, on how you might approach these. So case study number one, you have concerns that the process this university is using to deal with a particular student issue is not being done in a secure manner. You have heard from many students that are worried. Two questions. What would you do if you have a regular scheduled organizational meeting tomorrow? Or what would you do if there's several weeks before your next meeting? Any suggestions on handling this?
Please utilize the hand raise function if you want to chime in on this.
Oops. Go back. let's see if I can see the participants on here. I don't see anyone raising their hand. So what if you had a regularly scheduled meeting tomorrow? What's one approach you can take?
There is one person who has raised hand, Aaron
Okay,
Bonnet.
Aaron, thank you, Aaron. What might you do?
Could you have an emergency motion if you didn't get in on the schedule in time?
Yeah, you would need to check your bylaws to see how to handle that. I know with the faculty senate, the speaker can add an emergency item. I think we require a 2/3 vote to be able to do that. So if there's several weeks before your next meeting, how might you handle it?
I will chime in on this since for those of you who haven't already read through the bylaws and through the constitution of GPSG that is in the Senate Drive, if there is any business that you would like added to the agenda, and we have several weeks, you can always send your updates on the Thursday preceding the meeting, and even the Monday preceding the meeting. And if you email that to me, then we can get it on the agenda. Also, as the VP, I can host emergency meetings like we did these past couple weeks with the GAWS letter and the campus reopening. So know that that's another option too that we can take.
Terrific. And knowing the confines of what works within the organization you're working in is really important. So work the systems you have. Get familiar with your constitution and with your bylaws to understand what's possible and how to work it. Okay, I can't see this. So you notice several members of your organization are not seeking recognition and speaking out of turn. What motion could you use if you're a member? Does anyone remember what that one was called?
Is it the point of order? Sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
No, you're good. That's exactly right. It is the point of order. And I didn't tell you how you would state it, so this is a good opportunity for me to do that. You stand up, you don't get recognition, you just say, Madam or Mr. Chairperson or President, I rise to a point of order. The chair would say, state your point, and you would say, we have members not seeking recognition. Please remind them that they need to seek recognition before speaking. Right? So that just keeps everything moving forward. I've actually had to do that at our faculty senate meetings on Zoom when we have people interrupting speakers and not following our procedures with the hand raise function. So if you're the chairperson, you can also do that. You don't have to wait for a member to do it. Okay. And lastly, there's a hot topic before your organization that results in a divided voice vote. The chair says the ayes have it. So I didn't discuss this one, but in the cheat sheet I'll show you, there is a motion you can use if you think you disagree with that. Does anyone know what that motion is? I'll just tell you because I haven't shown you the cheat sheet yet. Shelley, or Nathan, I'm sorry.
You can call for a division of the House, which would require.
Yes, you can call for a division, and all you have to do is say division. And when we do that, we can do a ballot or a hand raising, but we're going to do a count of the ayes and the nays. And that way, we're sure that whatever vote we record is the appropriate vote. We use that a lot in point when things get contentious. And a main motion was presented that needs a smaller group to dive into it. What motion could you use on this one? Stacy.
I don't remember what it's called, but is that the committee one?
Yes, that's referred to a committee. And the way you do that one is you get recognition, you stand up and say, Mr. President, I move that we refer this item to a committee. That's all you have to say. And then your group can decide whether that's the appropriate action. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes they agree, sometimes they don't. But it moves, if we're in a situation where we don't feel like we're making headway, and we've spent a lot of time on something, we have other items, sometimes referring it to committee is the best use of our immediate time. Okay, so I've included in your handouts a cheat sheet, and just know there is a lot more to know. This is just really a snapshot to get you started, and none of us were born parliamentarians. All of us got to that role by studying our Constitution, our bylaws, and our rules related to governing that group, whether that's Robert Rules of Order, Gray's Parliamentary Guide. There's a couple of different ones. Robert's Rules is probably the most popular one. So if you have questions, I'm happy to visit with you. You can contact me through email is probably the best way. Are there any questions before I let you get on with your other activities today? Well, I appreciate your time, Rio. I think I kept our time limit. So I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you all today, and I wish you the best of luck as you progress throughout the rest of your year. Thank you.
Dr. Harlan, thank you for that fantastic presentation. To the attendees in this chat, you're welcome to unmute and thank Dr. Harlan with your voice if you don't want to use the emoji.
Thank you.
Dr. Harlan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Best of
Thank
luck
you.
this
Thank you.
year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Dr. Harlan. I hope you have a great evening. Moving on to the next order of business, we have our next presentation, and that's going to be led by me and Chandler Wilkins, who is our Vice President of University Affairs. Chandler, I'm going to make you the meeting host so you can share the screen and navigate the slides. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. Am I good now?
I am pulling you up on the participant list.
All right.
Is the chat going to remain disabled, or should we just unmute when we have a conversation or something to raise?
I would prefer the hand raise function, and if you haven't been acknowledged through the hand raise function, then I think Deborah will message me on the phone or something like that. Chandler, I think you should just be able to share the screen yourself.
All right.
I don't mean to interrupt, but how do we hand raise very quickly? How do we like raise our hand?
Yeah, that is a great question. It should be, is it in the reactions? Let's see. Anybody else who knows this is welcome to chime in. I just don't see it right away.
You have to click participants, and then you'll see it on the right side of the list at the bottom.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you're using an iPad, and then it's the 3 dots in the top right corner.
Thank you for that, folks.
All right, Rio, am I good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you all, even though it's via Zoom, but here we are again on another magical school year. So this presentation that we have here, we're going to go over essentially an overview of who we are, what we do, and how you all can get involved. All right, so getting right into it, we'll discuss the background of the organization, roles and expectations, and then we'll jump into how you're able to access the Google Drive. All right, so pull up my little notes here. All right, so there are more than 15,000 graduate and professional students across Texas A&M University. We're one of the largest graduate populations in the country, actually. Graduate students, we know that our needs and concerns and life circumstances are often different than those of undergrads. So we require a more specialized approach, which is why the GPSG is here to hear the voices of graduate students and elevate those voices and concerns to make sure that we're getting our needs met. So who we are, we are the voice of graduate students, graduate and professional students at Texas A&M. There are more than 100 students in our membership, and senators is more of 100 of you all, and represent different departments and organizations all across campus. And our role is to, like I said before, be a resource to you all and the student body, and make sure that the decisions that are being made by administration have us in mind and our concerns and our needs in mind when those policies are actually being made. And so our mission, I'll just read this off because it is important. The graduate and professional, disregard my puppy there. Our graduate professional student government exists to work in cooperation with the Texas A&M University administration, faculty, and student leaders to advocate for graduate professional students and to ensure that their needs are understood and considered when campus policies concerning academic excellence, tuition, and finance and research are made. So that's our mission. That's what we're here to do. And so we take a look at this picture here, and we see what the Graduate Student Council looked like in its inception in 1967 for the 1967-1968 school year. And even this is like the time in the presentation where I tell us all to look around at each other. So if you could just scroll through the list of participants, I guess, that's the same type of thing. But we don't look like this anymore. We're a more diverse group, and we're more the better for it. And so we always like to take a look back at where we came from and see where we are. And we still have more movements to make, but we see the progress that's happening here. Right. Okay, so what we do. So we have advocacy, community, and scholarship, our three major tenets. We advocate for students, we strengthen the Aggieland community, and we bolster student scholarship. So breaking it down, so we have advocacy. One thing that we do is we have graduate representation, like I mentioned before, not only in the Senate here, but we also expand outside the confines of our governing body. We have students that sit on committees and councils and task forces all across campus, ranging from like the Honor Council or Task Force for Campus Emergencies. Just about every committee that we have on campus usually has at least one graduate representative there who is there representing the graduate professional student government. And so not only do we have representation on the committees across campus, we also expand outside the confines of Texas A&M as a whole. Here we see this picture of a few of our past executive members who are lobbying in Austin and DC. And one thing to note, when COVID-19 first hit, there were several of our officers who lobbied virtually with the Student Advocates for Graduate Education. So that's nicknamed SAGE for short. They met with staffers for various members of Congress and presented white papers on research funding, immigration, and mental health. So not only are we taking care of our needs as graduate students here on campus and what the administration can do, but we're also branching out to things for the state as well. So then we have community. So starting off, we have grad camp. This is another part in the presentation where I say, raise your hand if you went to grad camp. I'm assuming some of y'all did, or maybe not, but whatever. So grad camp is essentially an extended orientation that we host prior to the start of the fall semester. And it's a great way that we have our new students meet other people, get acquainted with the Aggieland culture and community, because we know it's a lot to take in, especially coming from a different university into what we have here at Texas A&M. And then it's another way that we're able to provide resources for our graduate students, so you're not, lost once you get here. And then one of the biggest things that we do that gets the most attention is the wine tasting. It's our annual event. We usually hold it in February at the Clayton M. Williams Jr. Alumni Center in Flores Hall. So each year we welcome about 250 graduate professional students. And we provide them with the opportunity to learn more about wine selections, and they're able to taste some of those wines. Then they're able to also socialize with other graduate students. It's just another way for us to get outside of our labs and classrooms and engage with one another. It's what we used to do before. And then we also have interdisciplinary dinners. And so the main purpose of these dinners was to provide graduate professional students from across the university an opportunity to interact with faculty members and peers. We really wanted to make sure we're bridging that network between all graduate students and faculty members. It was an excellent way that we're getting folks to network outside their own department. Before COVID, we had the dinners in the fall and the spring, and we'll see how this works now. We're going through the restructuring phase, but it's something that we used to do prior to COVID-19. And then we have scholarship. And the GPSG recognizes, that we're graduate students. We don't have loads of money coming in, so that's why we provide travel awards. And we oversee about $10,000 worth of those travel awards. And so far for traveling, we've had students that have gone to Malaysia, Hawaii, Thailand, New Zealand, and more. To get these travel awards, you must be in good standing with the university, with the GPSG, but we'll go more into that in a little bit later, so you'll understand that a little bit more. And then we have Student Research Week. Student Research Week is I think it is the largest student-led research competition in the US. We have more than 800 student presenters from across the country. They share their research in a poster or presentation sessions. This allows students to gain experience and get feedback and really network with those that are inside their field and outside their field. One interesting note that we have is participation in the Student Research Week does not prevent someone from publishing their work at an official conference or journal on their discipline. So just another way that we have to showcase graduate students and what we do here. So just to recap all of that. So we have advocacy, 100+ senators from different departments or organizations. They serve on committees across campus, and I'll get into that a little bit later when I give my updates. Then we also connect these students with the university leadership on these committees. And then we have state and federal representation. So community, we have grad camp, wine nights, interdisciplinary dinners, and then for scholarship, $10,000 and travel awards that we usually disperse, and we have Student Research Week. Now, how we work, I'll pass this back over to Rio.
Hey, Chandler, thank you for presenting that. I think you did a great job. Quick notes before we move on. We just talked about a lot of the different events that we did. Now, obviously, in the COVID environment, the in-person interactions that we'll have will be limited, but we will get creative throughout the year and find ways to network with each other and hang out. I wanted to also recognize Paloma, who is our community co-chair. She organizes a lot of other events outside of the wine tastings and interdisciplinary dinners that we talked about. She works really hard in her role, and she often comes up with fun things for us to do. So props to Paloma for that. I'm now going to share my screen and bust into the last half of it. Oh, you're welcome. I'm going to share my screen and rip into the last half of this. Let's see, is it coming up for everybody? I'll just look for a head nod. Looks like it's there. Thank you, folks. Oh. I tend to press the wrong buttons. I'm sorry. What is happening here?
Happens to the best of us, huh?
I wouldn't say I'm representative of the best, but we'll do what we can. Okay, folks, we are on it. I'm going to press the proper button to present this, and we will do this. Can you all see it? Looks like it. Okay, thanks for bearing with me on that. How we work. If you look on this org chart here, you will see a bunch of different people. Don't consider this a tight hierarchy. Though there are some people at the top and some people at the bottom, really the GPSG governance board shares a lot of responsibility, and we all work together to make sure that GPSG is effective and beneficial for the graduate and professional student body. So we have an executive branch and a legislative branch. On the executive branch, we have myself and Utej, and as well as our future parliamentarian, who we will announce at this meeting, pending a Senate vote. We also have a Student Research Week director that will be hired soon. We have Stacy, who is our grad camp director. She's on this call right now, as well as our communications director, Bailey, who does a lot of social media work for us. On the legislative branch, that includes all of the senators, so shout out to you guys. As of today, we have 100 senators in our membership, so great job. There's myself again. I sit on 2 branches, don't think anything of it. And we have 3 different vice presidents and all of our committee co-chairs for the advocacy work, scholarship work, and community work that we do. Now, I repeat this a lot, but the Senate meetings are held on the first and third Tuesday of every month at 5:30 p.m. In the event that there is a 5th Tuesday, which comes up from time to time, we usually have some presentation that we can give, and we also reserve those for special business that we don't get to in our regular meetings. So keep that in mind. If there is a 5th Tuesday, there's a small possibility that we may have more GPSG-oriented work to do. Now, as I mentioned, we have more than 100 graduate student senators, and during these Senate meetings, you've already seen 2 of them. For those of you who went to the past 2 emergency meetings, there's committee updates, there's some wonderful discussion, we have great presentations like Dr. Harlan earlier, and more. For those of you who attended the emergency meetings, you also saw that we produce resolutions. That is the prime instrument of change that GPSG has. It's a way of communicating the opinion of the graduate student body to the university administration and leadership. That is what we'd call an outward-facing document. Also, we produce bills in GPSG. And with that, that strictly focuses on how GPSG operates. So bills affect our bylaws and our constitution. I'm going to talk about the senator role. We love our senators. The role of the senator is to serve as the voice of their respective department, program, or organization. And we have senators that represent every major department across the university. So again, thank you for your service to GPSG and for agreeing to commit with us for this whole year. It's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully these next slides will give you a little bit more clarification about your roles. There's 3 major expectations that we have. It's attendance, communication, and professionalism. Regarding attendance, I'll say it again, first and third Tuesday of every month. If you have your course, I think all of you should have your course schedules planned out by now, but if there are any conflicts, please let us know. Also, if you are involved in your department's GSOs, graduate student organizations, see if there's a way to make the meetings plan around that. From my experience and from what I know about GPSG, the first and third Tuesday of every month at this time slot has been fixed for several years, and I don't think they intend on changing it anytime soon. Also, when it comes to attendance, making sure your department has alternates in place, meaning a 3rd senator who could come in the event that the 2 sitting senators are not able to attend, would help ensure that your Senate has proper representation at the Senate meetings. and it will allow you to vote and also access the travel award. Chandler mentioned the travel award briefly in the former half of this presentation. Attendance at GPSG Senate meetings affects eligibility for travel awards through GPSG. So missing meetings could potentially put your department at risk, not just the senators, but the entire department at risk for eligibility for the travel award. So it's important to attend. In terms of communication, we ask that as senators, you relay all relevant information that you obtain through Senate meetings to your constituents, meaning your peers in your departments, as well as the staff in your departments and possibly faculty. If there is any in-progress resolution that we have, such as when we were working on the campus reopening resolution, we ask that you share it with your departments and as well as with your peers to provide to get input from those people in your departments. And if possible, you could relay it back to us and help us tune and refine resolutions that are in progress. As a small note, we have a bunch of different resolutions as ideas that the senators submitted when they registered and completed the form. So at a later date, we will share this idea bank. So for anybody who's eager to get started on a resolution and write one of their own, we'll have a bunch of different avenues to pursue. Also, this is probably the most important bit that I want to emphasize for communication. Emailing all Senate updates to your department GSOs after the meetings are over. This could be either that evening or within a couple days, just as long as it's relatively soon. Any updates that you have from the meeting that's relevant to your department, to your peers, please get it to them. We don't want the information in GPSG Senate meetings to just stay here. You know, this is something that's for all graduate and professional students. So promulgating it is important. I ask that when you send these emails to either your GSO or your department heads, or sorry, not department heads, but the people who run the department listservs, I ask that you CC me on those. My email is here, gpsg.therest. And also, Rohan, our VP of Information, prepared a great template for this as a way of tracking, as a way of keeping up with the meetings, the meeting information, the business items. So you just fill out the template and then you attach it to an email and send it off. Real easy. In terms of professionalism, this goes without saying, but I'll say it anyways. We ask that you please respect all members of the GPSG, as well as university committees, and conduct yourself in a professional manner at all times. As the voice of your departments through GPSG, as senators, you are also representing your departments. You are the face of your departments. So professionalism is going to be important with this. We ask that you speak with the best interests of your departments, as well as the entire graduate professional student body. And this was touched on through the communication piece. Please promote the general awareness of GPSG to the student body so that they know who we are and that the university and local stakeholders also know who we are. Okay, lastly, I believe all of you should have had access to the drive by now. If not, please email Rohan and he will get you that access. But any questions that you have about the Google Drive could go to either me or to Rohan, and we will answer this for you. If you want to see the bylaws and the Constitution, please click on that governing documents folder that's circled. You can also access the previous agendas and meeting minutes through the meetings folder. And this was included in the invitation email to the senators, but the senator welcome packet, there's lots of helpful information. We know that you're getting hit with a lot today, so if you happen to forget something, please check out that welcome packet. With that said, I will now take questions, either for me or for Rohan, or for Chandler, sorry.
I have a question. Thank you. So is the meeting time constant over all the semester? Like 5:30 p.m. like for the every first and third Tuesday?
That is a great question. Yes, the meeting time from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. is fixed. Now, we had 2 previous meetings that had different times. I will note that those are emergency meetings. And for the sake of getting everybody in one place, we had to get flexible with our times. But any regular GPSG meetings like this one will always be on Tuesdays from 5:30 to 7. Next question comes from Kim.
For those of us who are technologically challenged, looking for the stuff on the Google Drive, it's shared with me is the place to go. Okay, and it is the GPSG Senate folder, right?
That is correct.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Are there any other questions?
I have one.
Okay.
So you just mentioned that there'll be 2 senators from the department and there'll be an alternative one in case if either of us, we miss the meeting and the alternative can attend. Is that correct?
That is correct. And Rohan, correct me if I'm providing any incorrect information on this, but 2 senators is the standard for each department. And it's kind of an ideal to have a third. We recognize that could be a stretch for some departments because recruitment can be challenging, but it is helpful to have a third person on standby in the event that both standard senators cannot attend.
So like my department has a third one, and will that third can attend the meeting only if either of our both acting representatives are not able to attend, correct?
Rio, if you don't mind, I'll take that question.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the Senate meetings are open to the public. Anyone is invited to attend the Senate meetings, but the voting on resolutions and different stuff is restricted to the sitting senators. So in case you are having a third alternate senator, he or she is most welcome to attend the Senate meetings. But when it comes to vote, only the 2 senators, sitting senators, can vote. Now, in meetings where those 2 senators are absent, only then the alternate senator gets the opportunity to vote.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you, Rohan.
Okay, thank you.
I have a follow-up question related to that. So Rohan just mentioned that both the senators, is it correct when I assume that both the senators vote, or is it one department vote?
It's one department vote.
It's one department, so either of the 2 senators who attend will vote.
Yeah, means both of you need to discuss. Ideally, you should discuss and come to a consensus.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Rohan, I don't know what we would do without you. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions?
There were a couple of people who had raised hands. I think Kim had raised her hand.
I guess whoever's first.
If you said Kim, we already did my question.
Okay.
Okay, if there are no further questions about the presentation, we'll move on to the next order of business.
I also have a question.
Thank you. Aya?
Okay, so my department, I think, has only had 1 senator for the past few years, and that has been standard for us. Does that impact the eligibility for travel awards?
So see, in order to be eligible for a travel award, what needs to be done is there should be a departmental representative from the department in all the meetings. So if there is no representation for 2 consecutive meetings, that particular department loses out on the eligibility for travel awards. The eligibility can be regained only after 2 consecutive meetings are attended by the representative. So having 2 senators is always helpful. So maybe if one of you cannot attend, the other can attend and keep the eligibility intact.
Okay.
Was I able to answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again, Rohan, and thank you, Aya, for your question. Are there any others before we move on? Okay, folks, I'm going to share my screen and get back on the agenda. What do you know? I have the floor. Okay, so there is a link in the agenda to the Advocacy Committee for Co-Chair, Advocacy Committee Co-Chair for Student Affairs. We have a vacancy on our governance board, essentially. And if you are interested in working with us, and you want to be a part of that organizational tree that you saw earlier, then please navigate to that link to learn more information on it. We have a pretty fun team, and it's a lot of good work. If you have time for it, I'd recommend it. And I am a little biased. Next, we are forming a task force to strengthen our relationship with the SGA, that is the Student Government Association. Oftentimes these acronyms get confused, but we are two distinct governments within the Texas A&M campus. Now, if anybody is interested in joining this task force, it would involve monthly meetings throughout the year and hopefully culminate in a memorandum of understanding between the two governments. So this is like a contract basically to ensure that we are working together. We are not overlapping in ways that is a waste of time or resources. And in general, that we're able to serve all students better through combined efforts. So if that is something that you'd be interested in, please let me know. Send me an email, reach out to one of the governance board members, and we'll be happy to talk with you about it. With that, on item C, GPSG departmental presentations. Tomorrow, I'm going to present at the biology department, I believe. If you ever want that presentation that Chandler and I delivered brought to your peers, brought to a department orientation, anything like that, GPSG offers that, and we will do that on our own time for you. All you got to do is just let us know and give us some dates and times that we can do that. With that, I have no further updates, so we are going to navigate down to Rohan.
Just a quick update. If the senators who have registered, they are not receiving emails, or their names or department are not being displayed in the website link, or they don't have the access to Google Drive, please shoot me an email. And if there has been a change in your departmental structure, which is not being reflected in either your college's website or on GPSG's website, please let me know. Shortly before the meeting, I was informed that the Department of Nutrition and Food Science has been split into two different departments. I didn't know that, and neither is that being reflected on the website. So please let me know if there are such changes in your department. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohan. We will now go to our Vice President of University Affairs, Chandler Wilkins.
All right, it's me again. So in my presentation earlier, I mentioned things about our committees, external and internal. And so what I'll do now, on the agenda, you'll see a link to the external committee sign-up sheet. So just giving you a brief overview of what these are. The external committees are committees that are outside of the GPSG body. So they are committees that range from university disciplinary appeals or graduate appeals, council for the built environment. There's just a lot of different committees that graduate students could possibly sit on. And each year, these committees come to us and ask for graduate representation. And so in the best way that we know how, we created this sign-up sheet. So on this sign-up sheet, you'll see the committee name, position name, the term in years, meeting schedule, a link to that committee's website so you can view more information, your name, well, member name, and email address. So it's pretty straightforward. Just look into these committees and see if any of them suit your interest, and make sure that they also fit into your class schedule and your availability. So if you're interested in any of these committees at all, please sign up on this sign-up sheet. If you have more questions about them, just reach out to me, and I can answer all those for you. One thing that I will note is for the Council for Built Environment, we have two positions there, one with a term of 1 year and the one with a term of 2 years. So the one with 2 years, first you will be non-voting for that first year, and you'll be able to be a voting member afterwards. Usually we'll only have this two-term one available, but this past year we lost both individuals who were sitting on this committee before, so now we have pretty open representation for this one. So those are all the external, these are all the external committees that we have that we sit on across campus. I've set on, I think my total is 11 so far, and they're all very amazing experiences, good networking. You get to learn a lot about the university. And then not only that, you're able to share the voice of graduate students and provide service for the university too. This is a really good thing overall. I would say that they should get involved with. But if you have any questions on that, please just let me know. So that is that for external committees. Okay, those are completely voluntary, but I highly recommend that you find one that you're interested in and join it. So then we move down to the internal committees. So point B for me. Internal committees are mandatory for all senators. So all senators must sit on one internal committee. We have three, going back to advocacy, community, and scholarship. So I gave a description of like what those look like in the presentation, and then the committees essentially mirror those descriptions that I gave. So for this survey that we have that's linked in point B of my updates, you'll see the preference form. All you need to do is put in your name, email address, department or organization, and then your committee preference. With 1 being the one you want the most, that you're just most desirable, you want to sit on, and 3 being the one that is least desirable for you. And we're going to try to get everyone in their first most desirable committee, but it's not promised. So the quicker you do that, the better. We are closing the this internal committee preference survey next Tuesday at noon. We're trying to get these internal committees together before our next Senate meeting so that committees can actually use this time in our GPSG Senate meetings to meet and discuss anything they have, any business they have moving forward. So we're trying to get the ball moving on this pretty quickly. So please complete this internal committee preference survey by next Tuesday. What is that? The 8th by noon. The external committee sign-up sheet doesn't have a due date necessarily, but we want you to fill those in as quickly as possible. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Chandler. We will now turn it over to our Chair of Legislative Affairs, that is CJ Godkin.
Howdy, everyone. My name is CJ Godkin. I don't think I've ever formally introduced myself in this setting to you all, so it's nice to meet you virtually. As Chair of Legislative Affairs, I just wanted to take this moment to kind of remind everyone who is planning to vote in the upcoming election in the state of Texas that voter registration is coming to an end very quickly. In the state of Texas, the last day to register is October 5th, and you have to do that either in person at a registration poll, whenever they have like registration drives, or you can send in a mail-in registration, and I will provide the link to that if it's requested. Additionally, the last day to request a mail-in ballot, if you'd like to vote in the election through mail, is October 23rd, but the sooner you request your mail-in ballot is probably the better, given the uncertainty of things happening with the ESPS right now. So yeah, if that information is requested, I can supply it to Rohan. He can send it out to all of you senators out there. Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. Moving on to new business. We have Senator Nathan Shelley from Archaeology. Now, per the GPSG Constitution, we are able to appoint as officers a parliamentarian to serve alongside me during the Senate meetings and help enforce some of the Robert's Rules of Order policies that we were taught earlier by Dr. Harlan. They will help keep me accountable during the meetings and keep the rest of the attendees in the meetings accountable too. Make sure that we're following Robert's rules and able to run a smooth and democratic meeting. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Senator Nathan Shelley to say a few words about why he should be the next parliamentarian for GPSG, the first parliamentarian for
GPSG. As Rita said, my name is Nathan Shelley. Technically, I'm part of the anthropology department, but I'm an archaeologist. While I'm new to this body. I do have some experience with Robert's Rules of Order, so I served as a board member on the Student Fees Board at Houston New Mexico University during my master's degree. And while a lot of this will be new because it's a new organization, I will put the time and make it a point to keep both the bylaws and the Constitution open up on my computer. I have 3 screens so I can kind of manage it. And I do own the Robert Rules of Orders book, so I can bust this guy out if I need to. And as I learn it, I won't promise to be perfect, but I will do my best to serve my role to the best of my abilities. So thank you.
Nathan, thank you for sharing. Now, do we have a motion to confirm Nathan Shelley, Senator in the Archaeology Department, as the first GPSG parliamentarian?
Yes.
I move to confirm Nathan Shelley as a parliamentarian.
Okay, thank you.
The motion.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's looking good, Nathan. All opposed? The ayes have it. Let me grab my little hammer. It is moved and seconded and voted on that Nathan Shelley will be the first GPSG parliamentarian. Congrats, Nathan. We look forward to working with you this year.
Thank you.
You can all unmute and say yay if you want. Or not.
Yay!
Yay!
Oh man, I love that energy. There needs to be a confetti function on Zoom so we could just blast everybody's screen with it. Okay, moving on to announcements. I only have one announcement. The Mays Innovation Center is recruiting a student worker. The person in this role would lead a team of 10 research assistants on various projects and assignments related to the following fields: business, economics, and new technologies. If that sounds interesting to you, or you know somebody who would be a good fit for the role, please reach out to Matthew Parrish. His contact information is provided. He is with the Mays Innovation Center. With that, we have covered all of our business items. I want to thank you all for attending this. And again, thank you for committing to be a senator this year with GPSG. We had a pretty exciting start to the semester before it even started. And from the looks of things, we have an active and engaged Senate body that will get a lot done this year for our graduate and professional students. So I will stop speaking now. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second it.
It has been moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting. All opposed? Actually, no, all in favor.
Aye.
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 And all of those who want us to stay here, say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. And folks, thank you for bearing with us as we learn Zoom and get more comfortable with this. Hopefully the meetings will flow smoother moving forward. They will flow smoother. Okay, all of you.
I have one last question. I'm sorry to bother you.
For sure.
Just for the like the previous topic over the numbers of senator in my school and the department. Currently, I see only myself as a senator and representing the whole school of public health. And if I cannot find one in the future, so that means that I'll just myself, right, to be representing my my college.
There's the new parliamentarian to say he's out of order.
Point of order that we are adjourning, but
he said
that would. Okay, that would be a question for Rohan. You're welcome to message him or.
Oh, okay,
email
yeah,
me
yeah.
People are leaving right now anyways. It's okay. All right. Folks, I'm ending this thing. Good night and see you all in 2 Tuesdays.